Welcome to the final section of this course on Introduction to Data Security and Anonymization in Open Data Projects. The best way to close the course is to reconnect the individual lessons into one practical publication process. Each previous lesson added one part of the overall picture. We started with the value and risk of open data. We then looked at identifiability, legal and governance responsibilities, secure handling, and practical anonymization methods. The conclusion brings these points back to everyday publication decisions. Could people still be identified? Has the data been handled securely? Has the risk been assessed? Has the decision been documented and reviewed? And is open publication really the right outcome? All of these questions point to one central idea. Responsible open data is not only about release, it's about judgment. This recap brings together the most important ideas from the course in one place. It is useful to think of responsible open data as a combination of public value, privacy protection, secure handling, and accountable decision-making. The main message of the course is that responsible open data is not only about publishing useful datasets to create value. It is also about protecting data while teams work with it, reducing identifiability before release, and documenting the decisions that were made. Security and anonymization are both necessary, but they solve different problems. Security protects raw and working data from unauthorized access, accidental exposure, wrong uploads, and workflow mistakes. Anonymization focuses on whether people can still be identified in the released dataset. Governance connects both. It makes sure that risks are assessed, decisions are reviewed, and publication is approved before release. Most publication problems begin when one of these elements is treated as optional. For many open data projects, these basic techniques are enough to start a serious risk discussion. Some situations, however, require more structured privacy concepts. The most useful way to organize these mistakes is to separate anonymization mistakes, security mistakes, and governance mistakes. Often, problems begin with assumptions that feel practical at the time. A dataset may look safe because names have been removed, but indirect identifiers can still point to individuals. A dataset may be pseudonymized, but if re-identification is still possible, it may remain personal data. A file may be securely stored or encrypted, but that does not mean that published content is anonymous. Another common mistake is publishing data at a level of detail that is not actually needed for the public purpose. Responsible publication means questioning these assumptions before release, not after a problem has been found. Avoiding these mistakes becomes easier when teams use simple, repeatable checks before publication. Anonymization is not a single action. It is a risk-based decision. Start by removing direct identifiers, but do not stop there. Look at the indirect identifiers such as age, postcode, occupation, dates, location, or service use information. These may appear harmless alone, but risky in combination. Then ask whether the data is more detailed than necessary. Exact ages may become age bands. Exact locations may become wider areas. Exact dates may become months or quarters. In some cases, publishing grouped counts is much safer than publishing individual level records. The goal is to keep enough value for the publication purpose while reducing identifiability as far as reasonably possible. At the same time, the publication file is only one part of the risk. The working data also needs protection before it ever reaches the point. As we've seen, data security reduces risks while the team is preparing, reviewing, anonymizing, and publishing the dataset. Raw and working files often contain more detail than the final release file, so they usually need even stronger protection. Here, simple habits matter. Use one controlled source file. Keep raw, review, and approved versions clearly separated. Limit access to people who need it for their role. Avoid uncontrolled bulk copies and unmanaged storage locations. And before release, check that hidden columns, comments, metadata, filters, or old worksheets do not contain information that should not be public. Security itself does not make data anonymous, but it helps prevent accidental exposure, wrong uploads, and workflow mistakes. These habits can be turned into a final checkpoint before publication. A short reflection exercise can help applying these points in a publication decision. This course gives a practical foundation, but it is not legal advice. It does not replace a formal GDPR assessment, a data protection impact assessment where required, internal approval, or specialist security advice. Teams should seek support when data may still relate to identifiable people, when sensitive information is involved, when the dataset is small or highly detailed, or when there is uncertainty about linkage risk. Support may come from a data protection officer, the municipality legal team, IT, or security colleagues, data governance staff, or a relevant national supervisory authority. The safest approach is not to treat uncertainty as a minor detail. If the team is unsure, that uncertainty should be reviewed before publication. For further learning, several official and practical resources can help teams go deeper. This slide gives learners a starting point for further reading. Check out the Open Data Directive and European Commission resources, which explain the broader policy context for reuse of public sector information. The GDPR, especially Recital 26 and Article 4, like mentioned before, are important for understanding personal data, identifiability, and pseudonymization. The EDPB guidelines provide more detail on pseudonymization as a GDPR safeguard, while the ICO guidance is a practical source on anonymization and pseudonymization. The ENISA provides useful resources on data protection engineering and pseudonymization from a security perspective. For further learning, several official and practical resources can help teams go deeper. With the final takeaway, we return to the central balance of the course. Open data should create value, but it also should contain trust. Trustworthy publication depends on transparency, protection, secure workflows, and careful judgment. A strong open data culture does not mean publishing everything in the most detailed form possible. It means making thoughtful decisions about how data can be shared safely and usefully. Some datasets are suitable for open publications. Others should be aggregated or generalized first. Some may be appropriate only under restricted access conditions. And in some cases, the responsible decision is not to release the data at all. This is not a failure of open data. It is part of trustworthy open data practice. Public value depends not only on transparency, but also on protecting people and maintaining trust. With that mindset, the course returns to where it began. Open data has value, and that value is strongest when people can trust how data is handled. We hope through this course you can carry this central message to your own open data projects. We hope this course has given you a practical foundation for thinking about data security, anonymization, and responsible open data publication. Thank you for joining the DoorCE training series courses, and we wish you success in applying these principles in your own open data work.